Okay, welcome everyone to our talk, Decoding AI Product Management Hiring. So today we have Mahesh here, and some of you might already know, you see his faces everywhere. He is the Gen AI Product Lead at Google. Previously, he worked at Meta, Amazon, and Microsoft. And as some of you may know, he has a course, AI Product Management course on Marvin, which we will speak more in the halftime. And currently, he leads an AI agent at Google Cloud, where it is used extensively for Gemini and other key Google products. And today, we also invite Arjun, and Arjun is the founder and CEO of Humanic AI, where he used AI agents to automate marketing workflow. Now, prior to founding Humanic AI, Arjun worked in Adobe, and he also has two successful exits from startups. So I think today's talk is gonna be spicy because we have both a product leader from Google and also a founder from the startups, right? Talking about how hiring in the AI product management works. And how this talk is going to work is I'm gonna ask them 3 key questions concerning hiring, and each of them is going to take some time, about 5 minutes each from each questions to share their very unique view. And we will pause at around minute 20, 25 to share some resources you can utilize for your transition into AI product management or for your job search. And then we will open the floor for questions. And for some of you who can stay, feel free to stay longer because this is you are with the two best minds here to ask questions on hiring on AI product management from both the big companies and startups. So with that, I will start on the first question. Well, the first one is a lot of people is wondering, right? When it comes to AI product hiring, what are the scope and responsibilities of AI PM at different levels, really at MEM and startups? So for this question, I will let Mahesh start first. Maybe you share your view. And then Arjun can, share your spicy view as usual. Okay.
Thank you. First of all, I want to just say that the opinions I share in this call are completely mine and not represent Google or any other company that I ever worked for before.
Very responsible of you, Mahesh. In the age of responsible
this is like how we start. That's how you will feel like. That's one reason why you should not be like. I think before I answer the question, which is like what the responsibility on each level is, let me tell you like why you should even work for a large company, especially in an exciting space like AI, where a lot is happening. So I think if you're looking for large impact, you get a lot of resources, you get a lot of compute to play with, which is really scarce. So for me, that's number one. Number two is access to very smart people. I have met like researchers who I can't get access to from where I am from, but they are right now left and right, and they are booking calls with me and looking for my input, and I can book calls with them. That just enhances or accelerates my learning. And third is like you can focus on a really hard problems for a long time without worrying about like short-term sell cycles. So these are the three things which I think differentiate a large company, or you should apply for, or still stay excited in the new AI world for large companies. These are the unique things that I get here, and I've tried to I talk to a lot of startups. I don't see those three things, and Arjun will share like what exciting in his world, which will be much more exciting maybe. But now coming to the question, right? What is the expectation on each level or scope? So I would just divide them into 3 levels. Level 1 is like you're not at senior level. Senior level, like you start getting into more like strategy, aligning teams and all. And so level 1 is below that, which is like somewhere 2 to 5 or 2 to 8 years of experience. So that's where I think for AI, we are like what people are looking for is you understand basics, you can execute on AI products, which requires you to have one thing, which is like I will add like each essential skill on AI on each level. So the essential skill there, which I look for in those is people can they understand and decode responsible practices? Because at that level also, I want you to make sure that you can flag things or identify things which are not responsible. You can write or you can write requirements for an AI problem and work with engineering to make it happen. And then end-to-end customer experiences, what it would look like. The AI experience looks very different. Look at like Q&A sessions. You can come up with anything, but how on the background various AI components will come together to give this response to a question. You should be able to write that. So that I think are the three things on level one. Level two, you get to understand the ecosystem because at this point you're just trying to align teams within your org. So this is your level two, senior and above. So you are able to understand or differentiate your product within your org and also other companies so that you can align teams and bring large scale projects working with others. So that I think is one of the essential skill. The AI skill here I look for is evaluation. Can you actually evaluate really quickly a good versus bad product and set up clear criteria for launch of any AI product if I give it to you? So that's the technical skill at that time. And can you get buy-ins, right? Can you build that credibility across engineering and across different teams? And you go to level three, we are looking at like strategy. Can you actually strategize a long-term bet in AI, which is the hardest, biggest problem because things are changing every 3 months to 6 months a lot. So can you actually come up with a strategy which set up the organization for success for next 2 years or at least 18 months? So that I think is crucial at that level. And pricing is the AI skill that we look for. Like how much loss can you actually bear for how long? And how are you actually going to make money? I think level three people like director and above, I expect them to have those skills and make a long-term strategy on pricing because we give a lot of free stuff, but at some point we need to make pricing and their bet is going to count at that point. So these are the three levels. These are the three skills at each level. And if you are at above level, assume that you are required to have everything down and that. So think like that, and I will pass it to Arjun.
Cool.
No,
So yeah, this is the when you think of startups, there are two types of startups. 80% of the startups I'd say are pre-product market fit, and then there are product market fit companies. So very loosely, if you are making less than 1 million ARR, I would say that's like a pre-product market fit. Once you reach about 5 million, 10 million, then you're a self-sustaining company, then you're looking for scale, etc. So in pre-product, pre-PMF startups, which is the majority of GenAI startups, one of the first things to understand is what Google and Meta are doing that you shouldn't be doing. So if there is something that you think they are going to launch that can be commoditized and you don't have a play, then you definitely should not be doing. So that's the number one skill that I expect, like common sense. Like let's not build something that Google is going to put in GCP or somebody else is going to do. So that's like baseline for in a startup. Like you only focus on things that are differentiated that will make you money in the short term, which is the reverse of what Google is doing, which is playing the long game. In startups, you're playing the short game. So what is the gap that Google will never go into or can't go into? It's too small, it's too niche, like something that is, market cap wise, too improbable for Google to or Meta to get into. So that's number one thing. The second thing is that, if you look at AI PMs, everybody is pretty much in kindergarten. There aren't people who've done AI already or launched big products. And those who are in 5th grade or 10th grade, like Ilya and people who work at DeepMind, your startups are not going to be able to attract those kinds of people that have done this before. And most of those people are doing foundation models anyway. So that's out of the question without the resources that Mahesh was talking about. So in that case, you are looking for people that are highly aligned to the company's mission. So what I call like full stack product, like the domain and you're very highly aligned to the company's mission. That's number one. and you are very curious and you're very current about the state of what is happening in AI, which sort of ties into that's the only time when you can make a judgment that this thing we shouldn't do, because resources are so scarce, and especially engineering resources, that as a product manager, you shouldn't be doing something that gets commoditized. That's a bad thing, even if you put 3 months in, doing that thing. So that I would say are two fundamental things: understanding of the bigger ecosystem, very high level of curiosity and currentness, if that is a word, and then just how creative you are. So we are not looking for people who've done this before, because like I said, there aren't too many people who've done this before. But when you start, working, you're aligned, and therefore you are able to you're very creative in coming up with solutions and putting things together.
Cool. Well, this is great share. And with that, we will move to the second questions. What are the different types of AI PMs and the expected skill sets, right? For if you're applying to MEM versus startup. I see that's already questions from Nikita and Hasha, but essentially, right, we wanted to answer the questions: how do you position yourself effectively for AI PM roles based on your industry, domain knowledge, and AI skills? So with this one, I'm gonna let Arjun go first, and then Mahesh go second.
Yeah. So I think positioning in PM is still a business role, especially in a startup. Like I said, there is, sorry, I forgot to do the post-PMF, but if you do pre-PMF startup, it's still about finding a job to be done that you can do with AI. AI is just a tool. It's like AWS. It's infrastructure. The cost is going to go down. So you should know AI, but finally, if you are an AI PM at a startup, you have an understanding of where you can apply AI and how will we make money on that. It's pre-PMF, definitely it's a higher bar. Like, what is something that we can do that somebody wants to pay us? Like, that's still the PM role. That's still what is important. But understanding AI allows you to be more, allows you to be more in the conversation, you're more valid when you are talking to somebody. They understand that you know the basics, and therefore they should listen to you. The whole, and it is across the board a PM skill that even if you do a hallway conversation, people should feel like this, I need to talk to this person because I'm going to learn something. I'm going to talk to this person, or listen, even not talk to, listen to this person, because they have a view of the world that is, rational, coherent, that is going in a direction. You don't go off on a limb. Like, it's very well thought through. You've done your homework around that. And that is very much the case when you are in a startup. Like, in a startup, you generally don't have status meetings. Like, it's not like I give you a task and you come back and you say, I was able to do half the task, I wasn't able to do the other half. Like, so what am I going to do? I don't have anybody else. Either you do it or I do it. So the conversation is obviously, let's be highly aligned. Next conversation has to be, this was done, this is the challenge, how do we solve it? It's always about solving. So you need to be in that mindset of owner. I think the biggest difference is that in a startup, you have to have an owner mindset. It's yours, you're doing it because you want to do it. It's not because you're getting a paycheck or somebody is forcing you to do something. And that, I think, is the biggest difference between a startup AI PM versus because you don't have any rope at a startup. Go ahead, Mahesh. Love to see what.
I know whether Mahesh had to come back to that.
No, I think like, how can you like work towards applying your skills or your domain knowledge that you have already gained and learn AI skills? Arjun has already mentioned, right, that you can. There is a very high probability that you won't be getting AI jobs unless you have your AI fundamentals, unless you know everything that's going on. You have ecosystem understanding, you have fundamental knowledge of concepts of AI. And then the third aspect is doing projects, which Harsha was asking in the chat thread also. So let's talk about the third one, which is the domain. Like, how can you bring what you already know into AI? And I see this mistake again and again, that people get mesmerized or too bought into the solution that AI present, and they try solving for new things. Like, people start building for something completely new, which they have no expertise in domain. I think that's can be wrong or go against you at level 2 or level 3 in your journey. It may be excited in the big you are excited in the beginning, but you will realize there are other people who already know that domain and are trying to solve that problem, even not today but tomorrow, and they have a huge advantage. So my suggestion there is, like, how can you apply that or you bring your expertise? Is AI is a common platform capability, and choose the domain, stay in that domain, and please iterate in your domain with AI. Pick something that was not possible like yesterday or a year ago, but it seems impossible even today. But you see a slight possibility based on your learnings now with AI that this can be solved. Pick those problems, which actually I'm building on what Arjun said earlier, which is don't solve basic things that AI is going to take. The big companies are going to take on, like don't do search because search is a solved problem by Google, and OpenAI can take it also. So just think about those, and like if you're taking a PDF reader or building a writing uh, summarization agent, don't do those things. Those are solved problems. Use something that is out of box. So that's the framework also. What Indu was asking in the chat is the framework there is that if it is a very basic solved problem, and so many people just buy, don't build it, so that you can compare, and that way also you will learn a lot. But build something that's in your domain and you think is close to impossible, but you see slight possibilities as things progress, and it's domain expertise. For an example, right, I know there is a company which is building photonic AI chips. So imagine that, right? We have AI chips, semiconductors, capacitors are already like the building blocks of every AI chip. And they are coming in and they're saying, oh, but we are going to use light, and light is going to just make sure they don't heat up. That means we'll reduce the cost of electricity, because most of the cost goes in cooling these chips or building the data center and cooling system around them. So that company just get funded for 150 million or so.
Yeah.
Like in few days or weeks time, because they came up with something that was impossible. But now there is an application on the left hand side, which is AI, and the technology was there, but people are ready to take that risk because the demand is there. So focus on your domain. That Nick is the guy who built that company. He's from MIT and he has experience in light and photonics. He doesn't know a lot about AI, but he's building the first AI chip, which is photonic based. So think about these things and please bring your expertise and also iterate on impossible. And last thing I want to say, which Arjun gave me a clue, is please get a buy-in from your managers, because most of the times you will realize that anytime a new disruption happens, there's so many possibilities out there. I think, and even if you join a big company or a startup, your biggest challenge is not building at this point. Your biggest challenge is what to build and building consensus around the ecosystem. So if you can't sell it to your manager, if you can't sell it to your colleagues, if you can't sell it to the people who are adjacent teams who need your this solution, don't build the solution. That's easy. We'll figure that out when you join the course, or you'll join any course. People will build left and right. But finding out what problem, how you can evaluate it, how can you build it responsibly, and how can you bring value out of it. These are the three things I want you to think as a product manager, and try iterating on these three muscles within your company if you're building a solution. If you're not building a solution, if you're not in a company, you're looking for a job and you don't have a job, then look at your community, still use your domain, and see if you can have an agency. This is the best time for you to convert yourself from agent to an agency. But within your domain, see which are the startups which are solving a smaller problem in your domain, and then go after that and see if you can go and solve that problem using those three aspects that I said. Can you figure out, can you build a product which will have an ROI here? Can it build be responsibly? And can you actually iterate fast enough on this? So that's how I would say you can use your existing domain AI skills to differentiate and bring value.
Can I add one more thing, Jillian?
Of
Yes.
course.
Can I share one thing? So one of the things that we talked about is the deep domain experience, and I wanted to share this graphic. So when you think of, like this is my view. When you think of everything that's going on, there is the foundation models that are being created by, let's say, a dozen companies, and they are spending billions of dollars for it. And you need to know what their potential roadmap is going to be. On top of that, there is full code tools like a LangChain, DSPy, a bunch of libraries that are being released by, DSPy is from Stanford, LangChain is Harrison Chase. So that I would say is full code. Like, how do you program LLMs? That's what that's the phase that we are in. Then there are low code tools like True AI, AutoGen. These are libraries, one from Microsoft, one from another set of people that allow you to program LLMs. And then there is no code tools where for every job to be done, let's say you want demand gen and AI, you go to Clay. You want to create presentations, you go to Tom. You want to do activation, we are building at Humanic. There are a bunch of companies like that. So as a product manager, I would say that you need to have, depending on your skill set in terms of technical skill set, you either need to know how to use Clay really well. And Clay is really, if you haven't, a lot of people may not in this cohort use a demand gen tool, but it requires some working with it to figure out how it works, even though it's a no-code tool. Similarly, if you are slightly more technical, you could learn low-code stuff like implement some project. And then, if you're even more technical, you can deploy your LangChain Python notebook and build something. But this is sort of what I would recommend is, your way, you start from the top, but you make your way down and you understand how you program LLMs. So I would say that when we are looking for an AI PM at a startup, I would narrow it down to not just that what the lay of the landscape is, you narrow it down to what, we are in an agentic economy, which is basically, can you program LLM? So just a very quick primer, like there used to be assembly that we used to use 30 years ago to program chips, then that went away. And now all these LLMs are basically like different chips, like an Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, whatever. And you're using, you're programming different LLMs to get different things out. And that's the next few years, unless something else changes. So anybody that is an AI PM needs to understand what is this, where is their skill level, and, talk in that context. Hopefully that narrows down the scope of what you need to learn versus like, doing token, token level stuff with Andrej Karpathy or somebody.
Great, thanks for sharing. And so with that, we will pause here and share two useful resources from both Mahesh and Arjun to assist in your AI product management journey, like when it comes to job. So let me just share my screen quickly. So you may see here that Mahesh is actually teaching a course on Marvin. It's called Ascend to Man Level Gen AI Product Management. And because you come to this talk today, we will have a small giveaway for you. It's like a Marvin 150 code that you can get like a small discount on that. And Mahesh has like a focus on building long-term relationships with his students. So, I mean, this price you pay is not just like a one-time, like 5 weeks and over, because we are still, keeping in touch with our cohort members, because our goal, right, is Mahesh goal is right to educate the next generation of AI PMs and to help them to transition into jobs. And we also have this Saturday AI PM community. So this one is for free. Each Saturday we will talk about like the top of the mind AI topics, and sometimes we run workshops. So feel free to join us there too. It's every Saturday. And then Arjun here is also very generously share like his conference with us is on AI. It's like AI growth and marketing conference, and in it, I mean, it's wonderful. You could go there and like network with employers, because like that's the thing these days is like resume is not enough gonna get you to like known to employers. And there's also some wonderful workshops there in the conference. And he very generously give audience just from this talk half off. So you can go to the conference for 150 and learn a lot of practical skills. So with that, I will stop sharing here. So all the information that I talk about here, I will leave it in the chat box. And we would also send our follow-up email with for you guys so that you know where to find the informations. So with that, I mean, I know it's close to 9:30, but I highly recommend if you have more time, stay over, because we are going to talk about the hottest question, the third question, which is how to stand out as an AI PM candidate. What are the critical factors that influence hiring decisions in tech giants and startup when it comes to AI product management hire? How do you get yourself like noticed? So maybe Mahesh and Arjun, you can share like a quick view on that, because I know there's like a lot of questions from the audience too. So maybe like a quick general view, and then we will like start opening the floor for questions. How's that?
Yeah, I think questions would be the most interesting thing. So
Right.
I will take a quick take on this, and then I will pass it to Arjun. Like what basically you're looking at three things again, which I talked about earlier, which is we're looking for fundamentals, like very strong fundamentals, which is do you understand how these models work? What are their limitations? How actually they go and give you results, and what are the limitations? Like you can't repeat their things. Context size was a limitation. It's a limitation, and how it relates to the pricing of your product. So these are the fundamentals. Then do you understand like ecosystem, which is how can you bring these things together and see like how the world would be from now onwards. And then the last thing is, have you actually combined these, and can you give me real good insights of with examples where you have faced the challenges with these models. These models, as Arjun was talking earlier, which is these models may sound like they can solve everything, but you really need to build a lot of agents and use different things to bring them together, even with no code, to actually solve a problem. And that too can also solve a very narrow problem scope, and that too with a lot of ifs and buts. So can you give those insights in your talks, or can you discuss them? That's what I look for or excites me. And then do you understand something specific about the ecosystem, which is like, can you tell me if you choose an area to play, or if you have done a project, why you choose that? What insights you have in that ecosystem, which I don't know. That why would, let's say for a legal domain, why would it be challenging for Microsoft to just build a common legal specific copilot? Why you believe that's impossible? And if that's impossible in your belief, what, where it stems from, and can you explain that with 3 points and stand your ground when challenged? So these are the things that I think bring really differentiation for me when I look for like people who know or don't know AI. And with that, I will pass to Arjun.
Cool, thanks. I think before you and I answer, like, how do you stand out? I think one of the biggest challenges when you're looking for a job, some years after you graduate, whether it's 2 years or 10 years, is your mindset. If you go to, some people get into this funk that, oh, I've gone to a great university, I've worked for 10 years at all these places, and now I can't even find a job. And it's sort of very demoralizing for you to be in that state. So even before you can figure out anything on what to do, you need to figure out, you need to get your mindset right. And my view there is that, you just like you went through college or something and got a degree or work, got your first job somewhere. That was a challenge, but that challenge does not go, that is not the last challenge in your life. So every 5 to 10 years, you will have a challenge that is less well-defined for you, it's your responsibility to figure out what the challenge and how you're going to react to it. And one of the big challenges today is that a lot of jobs may become, redefined. I wouldn't say redundant or gone away. They are getting redefined, which is very scary for a lot of people. And they feel like they have, they may get left behind and they don't have a job and things like that. So I think you need to be in charge. Like this is yet another hill you need to climb, and that is the nature of life. The second thing I'd say is that, like I mentioned earlier, everybody that is doing AI PM, even in large companies, are in kindergarten. They only have spent a year doing this. 2 years ago, there was no ChatGPT, there was no, disruption. So you're not very far behind from anybody else that, potentially your hiring manager. Like they only understood agents 3 months or 6 months ago on a YouTube channel, and they're like, okay, now I know what agents are. It's easy to grasp. It's easy to build because you're finally being able to program in English. So it almost your responsibility to say there is no barrier today to program LLMs. You can do it with prompting. Like you pick up anything and you write a prompt, like and you can do it. So those two things, I think, are the first thing. Be responsible for fixing your mindset, and happy to talk more about it. And then secondly, you are not far behind from anybody else in this space. So, there have been other things like crypto and blockchain and stuff that, came and went, but this thing is definitely, feels very real. And it is almost like you're going to college again. And it's an opportunity. See it as an opportunity to catch up, but don't see it as something that you've already been left behind. That's first thing. And in terms of standing out, I think that naturally delves into how you will stand out. Because if you have that mindset, you'll learn, you'll be curious, you'll understand frameworks, you'll be able to answer Mahesh's very, impossible sounding questions, and like, what do you know, what do you not know? Because you're just curious. And I think fundamentally, LLMs are so interesting because we are at the cusp, or potentially at the cusp, of AGI, artificial general intelligence, which is like the most exciting thing that human beings can ever think of, is that we can create something that can think. Like, I think fundamentally it's so exciting, and we have the opportunity to get involved in that very easily, and therefore be able to answer these tough questions and incisive things that Mahesh will be asking you when you apply for Google or Meta. So I think it's a Cambrian explosion, and embrace it and love it, and you will be on. And even if you don't find success in the first 3 months, 6 months, people who try to understand these things are the people who will get to the other side. People who don't try are, just doing themselves, shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah. On that note, I just want to say and resonate one thing which Arjun said is that it just takes a lot to learn these stuff. So don't stop yourself at courses. That's why when I started the ML and AI course in December 2022, I kept the community going. And some of you, like you're seeing here, KV, Rashmi, are part of our community as well, and going along. And that's why we do the Saturday call, because it takes a lot of time for you to resonate the concepts, apply them, and then see the insights which actually are needed for you to build right products. Whether you're building for a company or yourself, just staying with this continuously and iterating with people on same set of people, continuously building on that strength is what's needed. It took me 8 years to be here. I don't expect you to be where I am or where others are in 8 weeks. And that's why, like, I think having a long-term bet or having a longer some strategy for yourself also in this new world would be very helpful.
Yeah, I think we are all in the business of converting knowledge into money. That's the baseline. So the more knowledge you have, you will figure out how to make money. But if you don't have knowledge in the knowledge economy, you are just you're just wasting, I think, a lot of effort that's already been put in. It's just another hill that you got to climb, and that's the nature of the world, the nature of life. I think, not even the world.
Yeah. Okay. With that, I think we should open the floor for questions because people have been waiting, and I will pick the first question from Diffie. She said, do the skill sets vary depending on which layer of AI stack you're going to play a role in, whether it's hardware, building the foundations, or using AI to build facing experience that she wanted to understand based on her experience and passion where she can be a good fit. And Divi, you're here, you can, show yourself and maybe, just call out anything I have missed to your questions. Mahesh or Arjun, you wanna take this?
Yeah,
I can take the first stab.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think definitely, right. Depending upon which company you're applying for in the AI stack, which Arjun was showing earlier, if you're going from bottom to up, it's very different. So if you're going from bottom, which is like at AI chips you are looking at, or just building frameworks on top of it, which is PyTorch or TensorFlow, if you're working on those companies, you're supposed to be very, very technical. Technical in the sense you have to know AI a lot, because fundamentally you're looking at either you need to know hardware at that point and how to bring hardware to life, or if you're working in TensorFlow and PyTorch, which I used to work in Facebook, we are supposed to know like how an AI workload looks like, how architecture algorithms look like, so that we can build for them. And also, you're talking to mostly your customer, become a researcher. And if you have a researcher persona as your customer, you cannot win them, or you cannot design for them without knowing a lot of domain skills. And as you go on top of that funnel, which is low code, no code, there the skills are needed as a very domain specific skills. Do you understand marketing in Humanic case, right? Do you understand activation and even specific, not marketing, but activation space in marketing? If you do that, then you can actually build a company or work for a company. So it goes from domain to AI skills in the stack, and that's how you will cut it. Also, I think most of the jobs that you will get or encounter are in upper layer. So first is agents, then AI services, and then ML ops, which is building infrastructure. Uh, very few jobs actually exist in building foundation models for product managers. If you look at like how many people DeepMind or OpenAI has hired in product manager space, not a lot. Like the ratio should be 1 to 100, and there are like few hundred people working. Last I checked, like not in like 10K or 100K at OpenAI today or Google DeepMind.
Yeah, let me share one thing, building on Mahesh's thing. It's the same thing. So if you look at the technology stack today, at the bottom, the foundation layer, they are the big six. These are the all trillion-dollar company. The way I think about it, all these six companies are interdependent or codependent. One cannot exist without the other, and there is no line of sight where you can create a trillion-dollar company or displace any one of them. They're very tightly come together, and most of the foundation stuff you can not start on your own. You need to be in DeepMind or in University of Toronto or Stanford to get access to anybody who they will hire, because this is a very friends and family type of hiring situation. You can't get into Google DeepMind or Meta Llama, whatever, if you don't know somebody who's already worked there, which is typically through a university situation, because you don't have access. On top of these, you have the $100 billion companies like think Stripe, Uber, Salesforce, $100 to $1 trillion. That are all utilizing some of the things that the bottom folks are working on. And this is where it starts to get more domain specific. There is infrastructure, but there is also domain. Like if you look for Stripe, it's payments, Salesforce, it's go to market and sales. On top of that, these companies have app ecosystem, like Salesforce has the huge app ecosystem where $100 million companies get all their leads from, and Notion, Miro, Amplitude, lots of companies in the 100 millions. And then most of the everybody else is on top of these companies. These companies have taken, the bottom companies have taken at least 40 years to get here. These Stripe and Uber have taken like 10, 12 years to be there, maybe 20, Salesforce. And then these companies are at least 10 to 15 years old. So it takes time to build that kind of business. And it's not easy to displace because distribution takes time. This is the topic that I'm going off topic here. But in terms of what skill sets, the more deep technical domain you have, the more you can go to the bottom. The more domain specific stuff you have, you will, you can have a play in the top of this sort of pyramid. Hopefully that is a good framework to think about where you should play.
Yeah, and there are questions actually pretty domain specific. One is, do you have any advice, for data PM? And then the other is from Aaron. Very interesting. The other strong categories other than marketing and sales implementation. So I would encourage you guys actually to come to our Saturday community sessions where we would, talk about like different domains in different Saturdays. But I also wanted to see if Mahesh and Arjun wanted to answer that. That's definitely many different categories. And I would also encourage people to raise up their hands if you wanted to ask questions, because then I can tell who is still here. Right now, I'm just picking on chatbot. So yeah.
Data is a Mahesh question, so go ahead.
Oh, we are taking on the question on data
Oh,
AI
the
PM.
domain, yeah.
Yeah. So I think domain specific, right? Data PMs, like the world we lived in before 2022 is like everything that any company that wanted to build any ML-based product needed a data pipeline. That has changed a little bit. And that's the inflection point for most of us, because what the change there is that we have taken, rather than building small models and building everybody's own data pipeline, we have taken a large language model and said you can actually fine tune it with the conversations. And that conversations need not to be based on your data, but can be based on your pilot launches and real-time feedback from the products that you launch internally first, and then you can go externally. So that's the change, the big change I see in the data world. Other than that, nothing is changing. Like that world also remains same, because enterprises are not going to just take any LLM and deploy it in production. They still need to have their data pipelines. They need to still build their data assets. And so the role of data PM, AI PM is changing for the first aspect, where more and more companies need not to build a data pipeline within themselves and actually start building a product on top of an LLM, which is powered on pretty much all the data that you have ever seen. So that's the change coming for data side. How can you be better in data? I think there will be, every time there is a disruption, the disruption remains for some time. I think people are realizing soon that the large models are not going to cut for every unique scenario, and it's not one thing that can solve all the problems. So we have a talk around uh, SLM or small language models, which can build for specific things. It solves for specific things. It's low cost. It's highly secure. It can be hosted on your browser, and but at the same time, to fine tune it, you will need data. So that time is coming. So focus on enhancing your skills in that area, because that area will still require a lot of data assets. And second, pivot into, instead of building a model from scratch, how can you actually build assets for evaluating a model? Because I think that would be really critical getting into the next world. Maybe it's not about training, but evaluation, because right now nobody's actually checking on these people or these models or the quality of these things, because they are mesmerized by, oh, this is possible. But when everything is possible, then the differentiation would be quality of your product. And as we treat on these, we will see more and more frameworks which will ensure that a consumer can actually compare and choose. And that would be a forcing function back to the people who are building. And when that happens, you will need a data pipeline to evaluate internally, assess internally, or improve your model again internally. So I think it works in cycles. So data PM, if you're data PM today, I would set myself focusing on the models which are still need training and small. And second is ready, focus your skills on evaluation rather than building it from scratch.
100% agree. 100% agree. Like the amount of lift you'll get when you will start evaluating models is like night and day. If you not doing evaluations, like you don't even know where you're going. One thing I would add to, building on what Mahesh has said, the last 10 years since like 2012 was the age of like 12 years was the age of ML, where the whole thing was like, if I can get a bunch of data, then I can train a model and then I can, generalize it. And that was highly skewed towards people who had a lot of data, like Google, that had been collecting data forever, and therefore their models and everything was so much better than everybody else. And every startup was struggling to figure out what specific data set can they can they, and they, the common saying is that 80% of ML is data cleansing and data gathering and 20% of the model. What LLMs have done, and I'm sure most of you know, is that they've taken the entire textual information of humankind and built these foundation models, trained like one generalized model with all of the information that you can think of. And as a result, now if you are a startup or you're a 5-person company, you don't need to go gather data. If you want to predict what the next email is going to be, you don't need 100,000 or 1,000,000 emails to train a specific model. That it already exists with like, a billion emails, and the model is already there. So that mindset shift is very important, that it's now not about collecting data. It's about, imagine you're already working at Google. You have the power that Google had for 10 years at your disposal. What can you do with that? And that is the revolution that has happened, that you can write in text, and there are these big matrix multiplications that happen in billion parameters and come up with something that is very, very, looks like very, very useful. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Louis, you have been raising your hand for a while, so do you want to ask questions? Louis? Okay. And Hasha.
Hi, Mahesh. Hi, Arjun. Good to meet you both. I have a question about the responsible AI ethics and the focus on that. And I've learned quite a bit from Mahesh. Thank you. My real question is that something that will be considered a must-have skill for any AI product manager? Or is it going to be a separate career track, like a responsible AI product manager? There's a lot of nuances to it. There's the technical part, there's a legal part, there's the, operations part. But I'm just curious about the career planning and if a regular AIP, sorry for the term regular, but regular AIPM needs to have some amount of it, or there's going to be a very specialized role, if there's value in going for that specialty.
Yeah, so let me give you my opinion on this, which is a couple of things, right? Two tracks you talked about. One is, does every PM need to be an AI, responsible AI PM if they want to work in AI? Definitely, yes. So there are 4 aspects to it. We did it in our community as well as in our course. We talk about, you need to make sure that your model is secure and consider the security of your users. You need to think about how fair can you be, because there are regulations which you can be sued if you are not treating your customers with not fairness. And if you don't understand the AI Acts, like we did the workshop last Saturday, where we showed if you're in a bank and if you end up deciding for loans, even if you have funding and even if you can do it highly accurately with ML, you should not, because it's really hard to explain them. So these are very basic things. And I think everybody should get to the templates that we have and apply responsible AI principles or learn them. So that's number 1. Number 2 is, I think your insight is really bang on, which is like there is an emerging field within at least large enterprises that they are centralizing their responsible AI practices, because it's very hard for everybody to just figure out all these. So they bring a team together and they say, this is our responsible committee, these are the guidelines, here is the policy, and now every team which is building a product can rely on them. And this is a team of pretty much product managers, program managers. Researchers don't like, there are few researchers which define, but they work with researchers who are already in the research team. But this team job is to define the policy, implement the policies, and make sure how can you accelerate the development of responsible products across the org. I see that as a very niche domain. If you want to go there, you really need to be passionate about it. There's not much like this. There is not a huge size in these teams at Microsoft and Facebook, I have seen. And I won't go there unless I'm super passionate and have a PhD in some kind of responsible AI aspects, because that's what they put the bar on, because there are a lot of people who are passionate about it already applying for that job. So I won't go there unless that's what your mission in life is. I will stick to my domain and I will make sure that I learn or do the course basics with the responsible AI and iterate with a couple of projects and make them responsible.
Thank you, Mahesh.
Thank you so much.
Aaron has been having his hands up. Aaron Nicholson.
Yeah, thank you. This is such a great session, and I'm trying to find my place in this world because I'm a longtime developer, but I'm also a project manager. So I'm trying to orient towards like what is so can you hear me? Oh,
yeah, we can hear you.
Some other sounds. Okay. I'm trying to orient towards kind of, because I know you guys are talking about low code and no code and so forth. As somebody who is a developer, but I'm not, a seasoned ML developer, what's an optimal kind of approach? Because, when you start coding, you're in the field of vast detail, breadth and depth. But then, of course, with low code and no code, you have, fewer opportunities to make specific solutions and so forth. So if I'm trying to enter as a PM with a technical background, what's an optimal approach as far as low code and no code and code?
I would, I just posted a link called deeplearning.ai that Andrew Ng and a couple of others are doing. So if you're a developer, that should be like table stakes for you. Just eat it up. Start with a framework like True AI, Arjun, start building something. One of the things we talked about, like how to stand out. Today is not a day where, you can send a resume and expect, a response from someone. Like whenever I look at a resume, and I have a spicy take on this, apologize in advance. I look for only three things: where you did your undergrad degree, because that tells me, how focused you were in high school, and others. Like and I've been in this space for a long time. I know every country, every university, what is their standing of that university. So undergrad degree tells me how you spent 8 years, 4 years in high school, 4 years in, I don't need to know anything else. I don't even care about the GPA. I just need the university. Second thing I look at is, were you at a large company for a number of years? Let's say you were senior developer at Sony for 10 years. I don't need to know which projects you did. I just know how much effort you put in, what problems you had, even as a PM, like what challenges you had. It's a fast growing, if you are a PM at a fast growing company, I know the caliber. And if you're at a company that was like, growing at 20, 30%, I know what was going on there. Like I've been in this business a long time. So I know how to judge what is. And the third thing is, if you did a startup, like, did it get acquired? Did you shut it down? Are you, did I, ever hear about it? So how to stand out today is that don't spend enormous amounts of time fixing your resume. Create a GitHub repo, be an influencer PM on LinkedIn. So one of the ways, just if you know something, like put it out there. Like that's the first thing you can start doing, is to become this person where you are able to create some niche. And watching LinkedIn is probably a great way to start. We were talking about it yesterday in our prep call, that just if you watch LinkedIn, you will get ideas on where the opportunity is, who you can, who can you develop some trust with, that you can be additive to whatever they are doing. So I would say the number one foundation, kindergarten, watch LinkedIn, become an influencer PM, start digging into some deep learning type of AI type of course. Even if you don't understand, I would highly recommend watching all 5 videos that Andresh Karpathy has put on YouTube. I watched them multiple times. I don't understand the math, but I just love listening to it because it is so crystal clear about what is going on. He's decomposed LLMs to matrix multiplication for me and linear algebra. Like that's all it is. There is nothing there. It's like a whole bunch of matrices that get multiplied thousands and billions of times, and it somehow produces something nobody knows how. So those are my, starting points, Aaron.
That's awesome. One quick follow-up there. Do you think, I live in LA right now, do you think it's helpful to move up to Silicon Valley, San Francisco, or is it possible to really connect people online?
You want my spicy take, or you want a political?
Yeah, spicy. Go all the way.
So here's my spicy take. Again, geography matters a lot. even when people say you can do remote work and do everything, there is a certain mindset that you start to have when you live in a geography. That's why football teams have very, they are attached to certain cities and people love the team of their city. If you come to San Francisco, it is a mindset of creation. The Bay Area is one of very few places in the world which I think two things. One, it is a mindset of creation. It is not a mindset of consumption. I would say, like, let's say Dubai or Singapore are places where consumption is higher, creation is, there is some creation, but San Francisco is super indexed to only creation. Very little is around consumption and that. So I think that mindset is very key. It's a learning mindset, it's a sharing mindset. So it will definitely help you, but it will help you in the long run. It will not help you in 6 months or 10 years. Like today, if you want to start a company 20 years, you've got to be in the Bay Area 20 years. Because you'll have those deep networks where you'd say, oh, I used to work with that guy 18 years ago at that company, and now that guy is somebody. So it's a long-term play to move geographies, but you need to figure out what is your ambition level and what is your motivation level. If your ambition is like, I'm not done yet, I think one of the mindset that everybody who's looking for a job should have is, I'm not done yet. Don't get into the mindset like, it's done, I'm over, I'm going to figure out how to retire and move. Like, be positive and say, I'm not done yet. There is more in me. And for that, it depends on, your ambition and your motivation level to move. But I would say, if you have the opportunity, if you want, if you're not done yet, move.
I just want to add to what Arjun said on your original question. I think me and Arjun were discussing earlier. One thing that is different in an AI PM role is it's very technical. Like, I don't know what other people are telling you, but it's a technical role, and you're required to understand the limitations of a tech which very few people understand. Evaluate a tech which nobody has evaluated, and come up with quick samples or try different things, because everybody's innovating at a very fast pace. So your technical strength, if you have ever done, is your asset to break into or to excel in these jobs. So please hone those skills. And if you have them, Aaron, this is your time. I would definitely double click and at least, and don't go beyond Python. Don't go beyond running notebooks. Do not start writing like, production level code, but you should be able to take a notebook, try it, tweak it, and see something can happen in a notebook. That's how much I would like to go in low code space. And I think having that capability is just a superpower, especially in AI PM space.
I will give you one more tip. If you have connections to, and some budget, like let's say you're not a developer and you have, no programming, like you can't program, find a technical assistant. This is something, so, go to a low-cost geo, find a good person that is very technical, let's say 2 years from college, but they know Python really well. And spend 2 hours working on our project with that person who codes for you. So Amazon has this thing called TA, technical analyst, technical architect, that Jeff Bezos famously started, which I think a lot of PMs can utilize by finding somebody who's in some low-cost geo that is really good at programming, but you are working with them. Like once a week, twice a week, you just sit down and say, this is what I want to build it in real time. So you can, you basically have an assistant, a human assistant to code something that to configure this and connect the API and stuff like that. That is a very safe way and very comfortable way, I believe, to get into AI.
Yeah, I think on to that note, right? When we did the course, we actually double clicked on it, and we provided a way for us to have our own projects get to production with notebooks. And then we had a support, like some engineer which you can rely on, build on, because that's an essential for you. because you will get roadblocks. These notebooks will not work, even for expert developers. But if you have somebody who can you can offload and then go on and they can unblock you, that's just allows you to
Basically,
iterate very
that is
fast.
the exact word. Figure out how to unblock yourself. You know yourself, you know your skills. Let's say you can't figure out, like I can't figure out Figma. I have somebody on the team who just unblocks me whenever I'm stuck with Figma. Or whenever, similarly on coding, just find someone in your network or otherwise who unblocks you in moving forward in things that you're trying to do. And build like a small team around you, like one designer, one person that unblocks you, and so that you're not gated by not having not being able to make progress, which is demoralizing.
Sounds
Yeah,
great.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think we are on time.
We are on time. I mean, Mahesh, do you have time for one more questions, or you have to go? Because I encourage the person to join.
Let's take one more.
Okay.
Let's take one more.
So I think that was one questions from Indu, and I think basically the question is like, hey, if you haven't chose the domain yet, and you have to take like one big bet, which direction should I take? Because she was saying a few years ago, people were crazy about like natural language processing, and now everybody is LLM. So it's like, just like, where do I place my next big bet? That's a good question.
So I have an answer for that. So,
Go ahead, Arjun.
so this is not, my thing. This is a startup type of thing. Look for any category where a product has not been disrupted for 10 years or 15 years. One great example of this is Nest. Everybody has that $200 Nest thermostat in their house. And the guys who did that, Tony Fadell from Apple, he looked at it and he's like, for 50, 60 years, nobody has reinvented thermostat. And he sold that company worth $3 billion to Google. So that playbook has been applied in the last 10, 15 years by multiple startups who've looked at a category and said, okay, this particular category, there has been no innovation. We're going to build a new thing in this space. Similarly, in a job setting, if you're picking a domain, pick a domain, and this ties back to what Mahesh had said earlier. Pick a domain that you sort of know about, where there hasn't been much new stuff happen for a number of years that AI can help disrupt or redo. And that will be, unless you have obviously, if you have a natural affinity, like let's say you love dogs and you know everything about dogs. There are lots of companies that do, dog related stuff. You love traveling. There's lots of companies that do traveling. You like agriculture, go on to one of the Lumascapes, you'll find 100 companies that do agriculture. But if you don't have any such affinity and you're purely like a capitalist, then look for something that has been disrupted and figure out how AI can help that thing.
But Arjun, to that point, we are looking for so that analogy can work if you're an entrepreneur. Yes, there's a use case, nobody has solved it. Let's go and solve it. But what happens for a person who is looking for a job? No, there is no industry leader who is looking to solve for it because they do not see money.
This is, sorry to call you out, but this is a mindset thing that I said earlier. Nobody is going to help you in finding your next job. It is your responsibility. So don't create situations where in your mind which says, oh, there is nothing I can do about this because nobody's looking for a job. Like, you need to figure it out. And what I am proposing and what I shared with you, sorry if I'm being direct, is that you need to break down the barrier. You need to find, like water needs to find a way through rocks. So you need to find, that is the next sort of 10 years or 20 years of your life, like whatever your career trajectory is going to be. There is no, I cannot give you an answer. You need to figure out that niche. And
let me try on this one. Let me try.
Sorry.
Okay, I think your question is very legit, and I love like how Arjun like discussed, because Arjun comes from that domain. But let me tell you the other side of it, which is like, let me give you like, where can you focus now in next 3 months to get a job, right? Or like what is ripe in AI. So I was thinking through that. So I think if you look at like the stack of AI, the top is the agentic world, right? So I will, if I don't have a lot of like, if I'm playing short term, start learning agentic workflows. See if you can use agents to solve a domain specific problem, build on those examples, learn the limitations of agents, learn how agents come together to solve a problem. There's a lot of opportunities in building agents and actually building a multi-agent framework which will work. The Arjun pointed like to uh, Crew.ai and AutoGen, and there are a lot of problems with them. Once you try them, you will figure that out. And there are a lot of problems everywhere in that space. And that's where I think more product managers will be needed, where there are a lot of problems. So either choose the top of the stack, which is today is agents, and I think are going to be there for another year. And if you don't know them, you will miss out on opportunities for next 1 year. So please learn those frameworks and focus there if you're starting from scratch. That will also help you go down faster because you understood, because that will allow you to quickly understand the limitations of LLM. That will quickly allow you to understand of what are the tools available to play with these LLMs. So you will see that 3 layers of the stack if you go from top. If you're looking for a really like you're saying, Mahesh, it's okay, I'm not looking for 3 months. Actually, I'm looking for next 1 year. I can build something and then capitalize for 5 years. Then I will go bottom of the stack, which is you're looking at AI chips. How can you actually program these chips to build scalable workloads? I think that's where the next disruption would be. And a lot of new jobs and a lot of new things will happen in that space. We cannot just rely on one company and just $3 trillion into that company. It cannot meet the demand. And I'm already seeing a lot of space and demand and innovation in that space. So I will start from bottom then, which is I will look at like new, not NVIDIA, but other chips company and see how hard it is to do basic deep learning things with those chips. What are the challenges? And then start applying in that area, because that area will be niche and something which will require you to 6 months to a year time to pick up. But once you pick up, you will have a moat. And my bet is that in next 3-4 years, more and more people will be needed in that area for jobs in product and AI. So these are the two that you can run with. And of course, you need to just not climb all the rocks and build your own. That's always a good idea. But if you're like on the other side, stay there.
Just on that last point, even the hiring managers don't know what to hire for in an AI PM. Like if I were to even write a job description, I am myself, not clear about, because things are changing so quickly. Somebody said in the comments that it is really the opportunity and your responsibility to have that owner mindset of your own life. Like, this is not my words. Reed Hastings had written this book, The Startup, 15 years ago. And that is true today, that you need to have, it is your responsibility to create your own job and then sell it to someone. You can either start your own company, or you can sell that job to someone like, you really need me. And you have all the tools. You can hire a TA, you can do influencer marketing or on LinkedIn, you can start learning stuff on YouTube. And that together becomes your niche. Like, this is my job and I can, I can build on this and plug in wherever somebody has that need. Because you are uniquely capable and uniquely gifted in creating the job for yourself. And that is what the world has become now. Nobody is going to write a job description anymore. People will say, oh, I love what you bring to the table. And that's, that's how you get employed.
I agree, Arjun. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, Arjun and Mahesh. I agree. You are your own, your job is like an entrepreneurship, what you bring on the table. But it's a journey. Like, the
It's
biggest
a
thing
mindset,
right now is...
Yeah, especially in the US and the Bay Area and stuff, that is how you will have jobs. You will not have long-term jobs at big companies where somebody's grading you, somebody is, giving you a performance evaluation and all that shit. Because the toxicity, that's a topic for another thing. The toxicity in large companies is another challenge that demoralizes you and makes you believe that you are less than you actually are. So, that's how, again, your responsibility to deal with.
Yeah, it's confusing for startups like us because few years ago, data PM was something big. Everybody was building data fabrics, how to consume the data, build the data, consume it across different kind of APIs, etc. And now LLMs are a big thing. What these all are like skill sets in itself. What do you learn, which direction you go, how do you invest, and then still continue, bringing your bread and butter, earning your bread and butter while learning through these all. It's a confusing world for starters like us. So here we are to get guidance from you.
So
how
with
we
that,
can
with
navigate.
that note, we have to go. But then I encourage all of us, all of you, to stay in touch with us. Mahesh and Arjun, feel free to connect with them on LinkedIn. And on our side, we also have a Saturday community session. So come hang out, learn a lot. Also come go connect with like Arjun on the conferences. So both are two really good learning opportunities. And yeah, well, thank you so much, everyone. This is a very inspiring talk and hope you learn a lot.
Can I ask a really quick question, Arjun?
Yes, go ahead.
I tried to register for that workshop, and it's asking me for workshop 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know what they are. Which one should I pick?
They are in the agenda. So we have 6
Okay.
workshops. So you can pick whichever workshop. Actually, you can skip that. Like it's not important. It's
Okay.
optional.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Jillian, for organizing.
And of course, anytime.
Thank you.
Always wonderful working with you.
Thanks,
Right.
everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.